CompTIA Network plus N10-009 exam practice. Question 1. Which port does Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, use for web communication? Port 21, Port 22, Port 23, Port 80. HTTP uses port 80 to transmit web page data between a client, web browser, and a web server. It operates at the application layer and allows users to request and receive web content like HTML pages, images, and scripts. HTTP communication is not encrypted, which is why HTTPS, port 443, is often used for secure web connections. Question 2. What is the function of a backup configuration in network management? Track network changes for performance monitoring. Configure firewall settings for network security. Store a copy of the current configuration so it can be restored if a system fails. Document the physical layout of network devices. A backup configuration is a saved copy of the settings used by network devices such as routers, switches, or firewalls. If a device fails, is reset, or experiences configuration errors, the backup can be restored to quickly return the system to its previous working state, reducing downtime and ensuring faster recovery. Question 3. What is the main purpose of Network Time Protocol, NTP? Monitor network traffic and prevent unauthorized access. Dynamically assign IP addresses to devices on a network. Encrypt communication between devices for secure data transmission. Synchronize the clocks of computers and network devices across a TCP/IP network. NTP synchronizes the system clocks of computers and network devices with accurate time sources. Maintaining consistent time across systems is critical for logging events, coordinating processes, and ensuring proper operation of network services and security mechanisms like authentication and certificate validation. Question 4. What is the purpose of authentication in network security? Determine the level of access granted to a user or device. Encrypt data transmitted across the network. Verify the identity of a user or device before allowing access to network resources. Monitor network activity for suspicious behavior. Authentication is the process of confirming the identity of a user, device, or system before granting access to network resources. It typically involves credentials such as passwords, certificates, or biometric data. By verifying identity first, authentication helps prevent unauthorized access to systems and sensitive information before authorization determines what resources they can use. Question 5. In networking, what does the term drops refer to? Packets that are successfully delivered to their intended destination. Packets that are discarded because of buffer overflow or network congestion. Packets that are encrypted to protect them from unauthorized access. Packets that are duplicated during transmission for error detection. Drops occur when network devices, routers, or switches discard packets instead of forwarding them. This typically happens when device buffers become full due to congestion or when packets cannot be processed quickly enough. Dropped packets lead to reduced network performance, retransmissions, and slower data communication between devices. Question 6. In network communications, what does latency refer to? The time required for a data packet to travel from the source to the destination. The total amount of data that can be transmitted over a network link. The number of packets successfully delivered to their destination. The speed at which data is compressed during transmission. Latency is the delay between sending a packet from a source device and receiving it at the destination, usually measured in milliseconds. High latency can slow network communication and negatively affect real-time applications such as video calls, online gaming, and VoIP that require fast response times. Question 7. In DHCP configuration, what is the purpose of DHCP exclusions? Exclude devices that cannot communicate with the DHCP server. Prevent certain IP addresses within the DHCP scope from being assigned to clients. Create a dedicated network segment specifically for DHCP clients. Limit how many devices can request an IP address from the DHCP server. DHCP exclusions allow administrators to reserve specific IP addresses within a DHCP scope, so they are not automatically assigned to clients. These addresses are typically kept for devices that use static IP configurations such as servers, printers, or network infrastructure equipment. This prevents address conflicts between dynamically assigned and manually configured IP addresses. Question 8. In DNS records, what does a name server (NS) record specify? It identifies the authoritative DNS servers responsible for a domain. It maps a domain name to an IPv6 address. It designates the mail server used by the domain. It stores the domain's security certificates. An NS record indicates which DNS servers are authoritative for a specific domain. These servers are responsible for responding to DNS queries about the domain's records, such as a, MX, or name. When a DNS resolver needs information about a domain, it refers to the NS records to determine which name server should be queried. Question 9. Which statement best describes the purpose of an access control list, ACL? Monitor network performance and detect bottlenecks. Define rules that allow or deny traffic based on IP address, port, or protocol. Authenticate users before granting network access. Distribute encryption keys for secure communication. An ACL is a set of rules applied to network devices like routers and switches to control traffic flow. It determines which packets are permitted or denied based on criteria such as source/destination IP addresses, ports, and protocols. ACLs help enforce security policies by restricting unauthorized access and filtering unwanted traffic at the network layer. Question 10. On a computer system, what is the purpose of the hosts file? It is used to configure network security policies for each device. It is a local file that manually maps host names to IP addresses, bypassing DNS lookups. It stores cached DNS records to speed up future queries. It is a log file that records DNS requests made by the system. The hosts file is a local configuration file that allows administrators or users to manually associate domain names with IP addresses. When a system resolves a host name, it checks the hosts file before contacting DNS servers. This allows manual overrides for testing, troubleshooting, or blocking certain domains without modifying DNS infrastructure. Question 11. In DHCP configuration, what can administrators define using DHCP options? Deploy a dedicated server for monitoring DHCP traffic. Determine which devices are permitted to obtain an IP address. Supply extra network settings such as DNS servers and default gateways to clients. Apply security rules governing IP address assignments. DHCP options allow administrators to include additional network configuration details when assigning IP addresses to clients. These options can deliver parameters such as DNS server addresses, default gateway information, domain names, or NTP servers. This ensures devices automatically receive necessary settings to communicate correctly within the network environment. Question 12. What does the IEEE 802.3 standard define in networking? The rules for securing wireless network communications. The maximum length allowed for fiber optic data cables. The technical specifications for Ethernet networks, including data speeds and cable types. The configuration settings used for home and office networking devices. IEEE 802.3 is the standard that defines Ethernet networking. It specifies how devices communicate over wired local area networks, including frame formats, data transmission methods, supported speeds, 10 megabits per second to 400 plus Gbps, and physical media such as copper and fiber cables. This standard forms the foundation for most modern wired LAN technologies. Question 13. What is the main purpose of generic routing encapsulation, GRE? Encrypt traffic between networks for secure communication. Encapsulate different Layer 3 protocols so they can be tunneled over IP networks. Control the flow of data between separate IP subnets. Verify data integrity while it is transmitted. GRE is a tunneling protocol that encapsulates packets from various network layer protocols inside an IP packet. This allows traffic from one network to be transported across another network, such as the Internet. GRE is often used to create virtual point-to-point links between routers, enabling networks to send non-IP or multiple protocol traffic through IP-based infrastructure, though it does not provide encryption by itself. Question 14. In a cloud environment, what is the function of a cloud gateway? It manages storage services and access permissions for cloud applications. It monitors network traffic to detect and prevent security threats. It assigns IP addresses to devices operating in a cloud network. It links a private network to a public cloud to enable secure communication between them. A cloud gateway connects on-premises networks with cloud infrastructure, enabling secure communication between local systems and cloud resources by routing traffic between the two environments. Organizations commonly use cloud gateways for hybrid cloud setups, allowing internal networks to access cloud services, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, while maintaining secure and controlled connectivity. Question 15. What is the function of a controller in a wireless network? It encrypts the data transmitted between wireless devices. It assigns IP addresses to devices connected to the wireless network. It provides centralized management for multiple access points and connected devices. It monitors and protects wireless communication channels. A wireless controller, WLC, is a centralized device or system used to manage and configure multiple wireless access points across a network. It simplifies administration by allowing network administrators to control settings such as security policies, channel management, roaming, and firmware updates from a single platform, improving scalability and consistency in large wireless deployments. Question 16. What is the main objective of a denial-of-service DOS attack? Obtain unauthorized access to a network by exploiting vulnerabilities. Flood a system or network with excessive traffic so that legitimate users cannot access it. Capture and alter data while it is being transmitted across the network. Encrypt network files and demand payment to restore access. A DOS attack aims to make a system, service, or network unavailable to legitimate users. Attackers achieve this by overwhelming the target with a large volume of traffic or requests, exhausting system resources such as bandwidth, memory, or processing power. When resources are consumed, the system cannot respond to normal requests, resulting in service disruption or complete outage. A distributed version, DDoS, uses multiple compromised systems. Question 17. In cybersecurity, what is meant by an exploit? A process used to patch vulnerabilities and prevent attacks. A type of software used to monitor the effectiveness of security policies. A security control designed to prevent unauthorized data access. A method used to take advantage of a vulnerability to gain unauthorized access or cause harm. An exploit is a technique or piece of code that takes advantage of a vulnerability in a system, application, or network. Attackers use exploits to bypass security defenses, gain unauthorized access, execute malicious commands, or disrupt operations. Exploits typically target weaknesses such as unpatched software, coding flaws, or configuration errors, allowing threat actors to convert a vulnerability into an active security compromise. Question 18. Which statement best describes the concept of a honeypot in cybersecurity? A tool that encrypts network traffic to prevent interception. A system used to monitor and block unauthorized access attempts. a technology that redirects legitimate traffic to secure servers. A decoy system designed to attract and detect attackers by simulating vulnerable resources. A honeypot is a security mechanism that acts as a decoy system intended to lure attackers. It imitates vulnerable systems or services, e.g., fake database or web server, so that malicious activity can be detected, monitored, and analyzed without risking real production systems. Security teams use honeypots to study attacker behavior, identify new threats, and strengthen security defenses. Question 19. What is the role of a certificate in a public key infrastructure (PKI) system? Verify the identity of entities and enable encrypted communication across a network. Store private keys used for secure communications. Generate public keys for encrypted communication. Monitor network traffic for potential security threats. In PKI, a digital certificate is used to confirm the identity of an entity such as a user, server, or device. The certificate contains the entity's public key and is digitally signed by a trusted certificate authority, CA. This allows systems to establish trust and use asymmetric encryption for secure communication, enabling functions like HTTPS, email encryption, S/MIME, and code signing. Question 20. In network management, what does mean time between failures, MTBF, indicate? The time required to repair a system after it fails. The schedule for performing routine maintenance checks. The average operating time between two failures of a device or system. The time between discovering and resolving a security vulnerability. MTBF measures the reliability of a system or device by calculating the average time it operates before experiencing a failure. Higher MTBF values indicate more reliable equipment. Network administrators use this metric to evaluate hardware reliability, predict potential failures, plan maintenance, and make informed equipment replacement decisions. MTBF is distinct from MTR, mean time to repair. Question 21. What is the main reason to update an operating system in a network environment? Add new network interfaces and extend the network's coverage. Ensure the operating system remains compatible with outdated hardware. Improve security, introduce new features, and fix vulnerabilities. Remove unnecessary applications from the system. Updating an operating system helps maintain system security and reliability. OS updates, patches, include security fixes for known vulnerabilities, as well as performance improvements, bug fixes, and new features. Regular updates protect network devices from cyber threats, malware, exploits, and ensure that systems remain stable, compatible with modern applications, and compliant with security policies. Question 22. What is the purpose of the domain name system, DNS? Store and manage user credentials across networks. Provide encryption for secure web communications. Convert human-readable domain names into IP addresses. Monitor and record network traffic for troubleshooting. DNS translates domain names, e.g., www.example.com, into their corresponding IP addresses, e.g., 93.184.216.34. This allows users to access internet resources using easy-to-remember names instead of numeric IP addresses. DNS acts as a distributed directory that helps devices locate servers and services across networks, functioning as a fundamental component of internet infrastructure. Question 23. Which statement describes a key feature of the Ethernet protocol? It defines how devices communicate using IP addressing. It is used to secure data transmission between networks. It routes packets between different subnets using logical addresses. It defines how data is organized into frames for transmission within a local area network. Ethernet is a widely used LAN technology that defines how devices send and receive data over wired networks. It specifies frame structure, header, payload, trailer, addressing using MAC addresses, and the rules for transmitting data on the network medium, CSMA/CD for Classic Ethernet. Ethernet standards such as IEEE 802.3 ensure consistent communication between devices connected to the same local network segment. Question 24. What does the IEEE 802.11 standard specify in wireless networking? The maximum transmission speed supported by fiber optic cables. The maximum cable lengths allowed in wired networking. The types of switches and routers used in wireless networks. The technical standards for wireless LANs, including frequency bands and data rates. IEEE 802.11 defines the technologies used for wireless local area networks, WLANs. It specifies how wireless devices communicate over radio frequencies, including supported frequency bands, 2.4 GHz, 5 GHz, 6 GHz, data transmission rates, modulation techniques, and communication protocols. Different amendments such as 802.11a, 802.11n, 802.11ac, and 802.11ax, Wi-Fi 6, improve speed, efficiency, and wireless network performance. Question 25. Which type of communication describes unicast traffic? Data transmitted from one device to several devices at the same time. Data transmitted from one device to one specific destination device. Data transmitted from multiple devices to a single receiving device. Data transmitted to every device on a network segment. Unicast communication refers to a one-to-one transmission where a single sender sends data directly to one specific receiver. The packet is addressed to a unique destination IP address or MAC address, ensuring that only the intended device receives and processes the data. This method is commonly used for typical network activities such as web browsing, file transfers, email, and most client-server communications, unlike broadcast, one-to-all, or multicast, one-to-many. Question 26. What is the function of an address? A. Record in DNS. Map a domain name to its corresponding IPv4 address. Store email addresses associated with a domain. Map a domain name to its corresponding IPv6 address. Provide security keys used for DNS queries. An A. Address. Record in DNS associates a domain name with its IPv4 address. When a user enters a domain name in a browser, the DNS system queries for the A record to locate the correct IP address of the server hosting that website. This allows devices to connect to the appropriate server on the network. For IPv6 addresses, the Quad A record, Quad A, is used instead. Question 27. What is the function of a canonical name record in DNS? It specifies the mail server responsible for a domain. It links an alias or subdomain to the primary domain's A record. It stores the IP address assigned to a domain. It associates a domain with a specific port number. A name, canonical name, record creates an alias for a domain or subdomain that points to another domain name, the canonical name. Instead of resolving directly to an IP address, the alias references a domain that already has an A or Quad A record. This allows multiple domain names, e.g., www.example.com, ftp.example.com, to refer to the same host while simplifying DNS management, as changes only need to be made to the canonical record. Question 28. Why should unused ports and services be disabled during device hardening? Improve network performance by limiting unnecessary traffic. Increase the speed of data transmission across the network. Make the configuration of network devices easier. Reduce the attack surface and limit potential security vulnerabilities. Disabling unused ports and services is an important device hardening practice because it reduces the number of entry points attackers can target. Unnecessary services may contain vulnerabilities that could be exploited if left active. By turning off features that are not required, e.g., Telnet, FTP, and used physical ports, administrators minimize the attack surface and lower the risk of unauthorized access, privilege escalation, or exploitation of the system, following the principle of least functionality. Question 29. In network management, what does port security help prevent? Protecting data from loss by encrypting all transmitted traffic. Stopping unauthorized software from being installed on network devices. Preventing the physical theft of network cables and hardware. Blocking unauthorized devices from connecting through unused switch ports. Port security is a switch feature used to control which devices can connect to a network through specific physical ports. Administrators can limit the number of allowed MAC addresses per port, specify approved MAC addresses, or configure sticky MAC learning. If an unknown device attempts to connect or the MAC limit is exceeded, the switch can block the connection, violation mode, protect, restrict, or shut down, helping prevent unauthorized network access, CM table attacks, and rogue device connections. Question 30. In cloud computing, what does elasticity mean? The ability to securely store data within a private cloud environment. The ability to maintain consistent data across multiple servers. The ability to encrypt data transmitted between cloud services. The ability to automatically increase or decrease resources based on workload demand. Elasticity refers to the cloud's capability to dynamically adjust computing resources, CPU, memory, storage, network bandwidth, in response to changing demand. When workload increases, the cloud platform automatically allocates additional resources, scale out/up. When demand decreases, those resources are released, scale in/down. This helps optimize performance while avoiding unnecessary costs from unused resources, distinguishing cloud computing from traditional on-premises infrastructure where capacity must be provisioned for peak load.